My name is Emily. I'm 24 years old. And at exactly 3 a.m. on a stormy night, I found myself crawling across the cold wooden floor, bleeding, broken, and abandoned. My leg had snapped. I could taste warm blood pooling inside my mouth. Every breath rattled like broken glass inside my chest. The pain was unbearable, but it was nothing compared to the betrayal that came next. You see, I wasn't crawling away from a stranger. I was crawling away from the man who was supposed to be my family, my stepfather. Minutes earlier, his fists rained down on me like thunder. He had thrown me across the living room, my bones cracking as if I was just some object in his way. And while I begged him to stop, while I screamed for my mother, she just stood there. My own mother. Her arms crossed. Her eyes, cold. I'll never forget that moment. I reached for her, sobbing, "Mom, please, he's killing me. Please help me." But instead of rushing to my side, instead of saving me, she leaned down, her lips brushing my ear. And with a sneer that cut deeper than any bruise, she whispered, "You should have signed the loan, Emily." My body froze. My mind shattered. I thought maybe I was hallucinating from the blood loss. But no, her words were sharp. Calculated. Cruel. The room spun around me. My stepdad laughed in the background, wiping his fists as if this was some sick game. And my mother, my own flesh and blood, chose him over me. I tried to crawl closer, thinking maybe she would change her mind. Maybe the woman who gave me life would finally protect it. But when I wrapped my bloody hands around her feet, she kicked me away like I was trash. And then she whispered something even worse. Something that made my blood run colder than the floor beneath me. That night wasn't just about violence. It was about a secret my mother never wanted me to know. I couldn't stop shaking. My blood painted the floor. My body begged me to give up. But my mind? It clung to her words. You should have signed the loan. Why would my own mother say that? What loan? Why was I being beaten to death over something I didn't even understand? To answer that, I have to take you back. Back to the moment everything in my life began to crumble. Before my stepdad entered the picture, it was just me and my mom. Things weren't perfect, but at least they were safe. I was in college, chasing my dream of becoming a nurse. I worked part-time, saved every penny, and believed that my mom wanted the best for me. But then he came. Robert. My stepdad. He had the smile of a salesman and the fists of a monster. At first, he charmed her with expensive dinners, fake promises, and sweet lies. She fell for it. I saw through him, but she didn't want to listen. Soon, he moved in. And the house that once felt like home turned into a battlefield. Robert controlled everything. The money. The food. Even the air we breathed. He convinced my mom to quit her job and trust him. But within months, the bills piled up, and the debts grew like weeds. That's when he started eyeing me. "You're old enough to help this family," he'd say. "Sign these papers. Co-sign the loan. It's just a formality." But I refused. I didn't trust him. I knew signing anything with his name on it would be a death sentence. And that's when my mom changed. She stopped calling me honey. She stopped hugging me at night. Her voice grew sharper, colder. All she cared about was Robert. I still remember the first time he hit me. It wasn't even because of me. It was because my mom burned dinner. But instead of hitting her, he turned to me. And she let him. That night at 3 a.m., when I was lying on the floor, broken and bleeding, I finally understood. This wasn't about love. This wasn't even about family. This was about money. Robert needed me to sign the loan. And my mom, the woman who should have protected me with her life, decided that my blood was a fair price for his debts. But as the pain swallowed me whole, something inside me snapped. If my own mother wanted me to suffer, if Robert thought I was weak, they were about to learn the truth. Because I wasn't going to die that night. No. I was going to survive. And I was going to make them both pay. High voltage. I could barely breathe. My body begged me to give up, but my soul refused. Because in that moment, between life and death, I made a promise. I would survive. And I would make them regret everything. Robert thought I was weak. My mother thought I was desperate. But they didn't know the fire that had just been lit inside me. I dragged myself across the living room floor, each movement sending lightning bolts of pain through my broken leg. Robert leaned back on the couch, beer in his hand, laughing like the devil himself. "Look at her," he said. "Pathetic. She'll sign the loan tomorrow, or she won't see tomorrow at all." And then he walked out. Just like that. Leaving me in a pool of my own blood. But my mother stayed. She bent down, her face inches from mine, her perfume mixing with the stench of my blood. And she whispered words that carved themselves into my soul forever. "You are nothing without me. Remember that." She stood up, walked away, and closed the door to her bedroom, leaving me alone. For hours, I lay there, fading in and out of consciousness. But somewhere between the pain and the darkness, I realized something. I still had one thing they couldn't take away from me. My will to fight. I pulled myself up, using the wall for support. My hands slipped on the bloodstains I left behind. My vision blurred. My heart raced. But step by step, crawl by crawl, I made it to my room. Inside, hidden under my mattress, was something I'd been preparing for months. Because deep down, I always knew this night would come. A small journal, a phone, and a flash drive. The journal contained every detail, every bruise, every threat, every time Robert raised his fists or my mother chose silence. The phone had pictures, voice recordings, proof of their cruelty. And the flash drive? That was the key. It held Robert's darkest secret, the illegal schemes he'd been running behind my mother's back. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was their worst nightmare. But as I sat there, clutching the evidence with shaking hands, I heard footsteps outside my door. Heavy. slow, deliberate. Robert's voice thundered through the wood. Tomorrow morning, Emily, you're signing that loan. Or you won't live long enough to regret it. I held my breath, clutching the flash drive to my chest. He had no idea. Tomorrow wouldn't be the day I signed his loan. Tomorrow would be the day I started his destruction. The next morning, the house was silent. My body ached, my leg throbbed, but my mind? It was sharper than ever. Robert thought today would be about forcing me to sign his loan. But today was about ending him. I dressed slowly, hiding the bruises under long sleeves. I tucked the flash drive into my pocket. And with every step toward the kitchen, my fear burned away, replaced by rage. Robert sat at the table, papers spread out. His smug grin told me he thought he had already won. My mother stood behind him, arms crossed, eyes cold. Sit, Robert ordered. Sign the papers. End of story. I sat down, picked up the pen, pretended to tremble. My mother smirked, certain I was broken. But instead of signing, I looked Robert dead in the eyes and whispered, "You've already destroyed yourself." His smile faded. What the hell does that mean? I slid the flash drive across the table. You should have been smarter, Robert. I know everything. The scams. The fraud. The debts you're hiding even from her. My mother's face twisted. What is she talking about? I turned to her, my voice cutting like glass. He never loved you. You were just his cover. I was his target. And now, you're both going down. Robert lunged at me, but I was ready. I pulled out my phone and hit play. The kitchen filled with his own voice, recordings of him screaming, threatening, confessing. Every word, every threat, captured. My mother's jaw dropped. Robert froze. And then, sirens. Because while they slept last night, I had already sent everything to the police. The fraud. The abuse. The proof of every crime. The pounding at the door shook the walls. Officers stormed in. Robert tried to fight, but they pinned him to the ground in seconds. And my mother? She didn't move. She didn't say a word. She just stared at me, her daughter, the girl she sacrificed for greed. As they dragged Robert out in handcuffs, my mother finally spoke. You ruined everything. I looked at her, my voice steady for the first time in years. No, Mom. You did. The court case was brutal, but justice came. Robert was sentenced for fraud and abuse. My mother, too, faced charges for neglect, for enabling, for choosing money over blood. And me? I walked out of that courtroom free, not just from them, but from the chains they tried to put on me. The scars on my body will never fade. But neither will the fire inside me. Because in the end, karma came for both of them. And I didn't have to lift a single finger. Sparkles.